Hey guys, it's Matt Hanham here and welcome to the Amplify Your Business podcast. All right, so it's Matt Hanham here and welcome to the Amplify Your Business podcast. Again, rolling through another game changer series as we're here on Lombok, and I have Dennis from Storydriven based out of Sydney. So Dennis, the big question, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Cool. Well, first off, hey Matt, thanks for having me on the show. All right, so look, I am the founder of Storydriven. As you mentioned, we're a video production agency based in Sydney, and really in a nutshell, what we do is we help connect businesses with their customers through video marketing.
All right, let's just repeat that. So you help.
So I help businesses connect with their customers through video marketing.
Video. Okay, awesome. So it's pretty amazing, but how do we, what's the chronological story? How does Dennis get to starting Storydriven and build the skill sets? Because just as a side note for those listening, you should definitely go check this out, and we'll link it up down in the show notes. But these guys, they produce some pretty amazing videos, and they're definitely worth checking out. So how does someone like yourself get to this place in life?
Well, to be honest, Matt, I started in the wedding industry, right? So, look, prior to that, I went through several film schools, like traditional kind of getting training on how to be a filmmaker, getting a broad understanding of the craft, and just falling in love with the art. And from there, my first job really was working as a video editor doing wedding videos in Sydney, Australia. Okay. Yeah, and that was look, to be honest with you, I was like 21 at the time. Yeah. It was awesome because I was also a film student at the time, working basically the hours I wanted to work because I needed to study at the same time. And yeah, just I loved it. It was a good training ground for me.
I can imagine there might still be a bit of art required on a few weddings that didn't seem to quite go to plan.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to knock on the craft because the reality is it was an amazing incubator. Because for about a year and a half while I was in the wedding industry, I started as an editor, and then I became a camera operator, and then I started actually talking with couples. Yep. So really, it was a crash course on not just I guess professional videography, but also a crash course on business. So that was quite good. But the reality was learning started to plateau because of the repetitive nature of weddings. Really, quite frankly, I'm not much of a romantic, and the reality is once you've seen one wedding, you kind of seen them all. And look, from there.
Sober, right? Once you've seen one wedding sober.
Yeah, that's right. And look, really from there, I fell into corporate video production, again, as an editor for different companies, working my way up, becoming a camera operator, becoming a director, producer, and then my last position prior to Storydriven was I was the creative director in a video production agency. Okay. So it was a good, basically that helped create a very strong foundation around the technical aspect of I guess, corporate filmmaking and marketing. Yeah. And really from there, I met my business partner, Chris McCarty. So he's an amazing cinematographer. And prior to Storydriven, we were working together for about 4 years in different projects. What it was every time we had a complex project, like a television commercial, for example, I'd call on Chris. And he was my go-to cinematographer. And we already had a huge amount of trust, and we decided it was the right time. So Storydriven was born. And
this was 2000
This was 2015.
2015,
That's
amazing.
Right.
So there's a bit of an accent. Definitely, by all means, have a drink. There was a bit of an accent there. For those just listening in, where does that come from?
So most people that first meet me either assume I'm Mexican or Filipino. Okay. So I was born in the Philippines. I'm not Mexican. As much as I'd like to learn Spanish, I don't know much of Spanish. But proudly born in the Philippines, born and raised, and moved to Australia in I forget, 2007.
2007.
Yes.
Okay, so 2007, you're still fairly young at that point in time.
Yeah.
Had you been to Australia before?
No. So I went to Australia on my own as a student. Didn't really like. I was just continuing my filmmaking training. I didn't expect I'd be able to migrate to Australia, frankly. But look, I was able to build a career and open opportunities for myself to become a permanent resident, and then now I'm a citizen of Australia.
Fantastic. So, tell me something about yourself that only maybe one of your friends or close family members might know that's a bit different. Someone in a professional capacity doesn't necessarily uncover this truth.
Sure. Well, I suppose the most personal thing that really only the closest people, friends and family know is that I have a 14-month-old son, and
congratulations!
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, he's he's an awesome little dude, and really, as cliche as this may sound, having kids totally changes your perspective on life.
Yeah.
It just turns your life upside down in a good way, though.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I found myself saying, I think that exact same phrase today or yesterday in a conversation, and it really, and from a business point of view too, it really actually does change the way you do approach, your everyday activities and how you prioritize what you do, right? So
that's right.
That's pretty amazing. So little boy.
Yeah, he's a little boy. His name is Nathaniel, or Nathan for short.
Fantastic. Right. So 2015, you're wanting to get your business going. You've decided. You've made a decision. Was there anything holding you back from getting started?
There was a lot, actually. I was even before 2015, for about 2 years, I was deliberating starting my own business.
Okay.
It was just the fear of, when you're used to employment and the sense, which, to be honest, really, in the grander scheme is a lie, but the sense of security that employment gives you.
I like the word you use there. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And my father was the one who actually kind of, I guess, took off the veil of really what employment was. I mean, really, at any point, your employer could fire you or whatever, regardless. Maybe unless you're working for government. But anyway, different story. But yeah, that's. What was the question?
So the question was.
I go on tangents sometimes. I apologize to your audience.
Good. That was quite valuable, sort of piece. But what it was, so you spent 2 years. What was holding?
Yes.
What was holding you back for that 2 years?
Thank you. It was the fear.
Yeah.
So when you're used to a steady paycheck, like every fortnight, you can just get paid. You work 9 to 5. It's pretty predictable, and quite frankly, as an employee, most of the responsibility isn't on your shoulder. You can pawn the responsibility to someone probably higher up the ladder. And to be honest, that's a freedom on its own.
Yeah.
So I got, I guess, addicted to that whole cycle of tell me what to do, I'll do it. I'm great at my job, I'll do it well, I'll get paid for it. But there was just a lack of fulfillment.
Yeah, okay.
So I was looking for something. I was reading books. I was going to different entrepreneurial conferences and education courses and groups, joining different groups and talking in the entrepreneurial circle. And after about 2 years of doing that, I then had this whole idea that it had to be all or nothing. I used to smoke, right?
Okay.
And the thing about smoking, what I learned is if you want to quit, it's cold turkey or nothing at all, at least for me.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what happened is I can't, try to stay employed, but at the same time try to grow my business. It just doesn't work that way because you don't do a good job on either.
Yeah, see, that's I've had a lot of conversations lately, and there's a big push around this sort of side hustle process, and I think my view on that is that side hustle can be great, but I'm with you. I couldn't do that, so I actually went the opposite route. Personally, I found a way to. Well, I saved up and created a little bit of capital to give me an amount of time that I could sort of survive, and I did it that way because I found that I had to be all or nothing too. Like I couldn't dabble. It wasn't for me. So the sort of side hustle from 7 p.m. to midnight wasn't appropriate for me, but obviously is for a lot of people. And you're obviously falling on that path too. You needed to focus.
That's right. Look, and in the end of the day, it's whatever works. Like there's no right or wrong. It's what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So how did you first make revenue?
Oh man. Well, to be honest with you, the first 10 months in business, my business partner and I he was working kind of part-time-ish, but I was basically working full-time in the business. We made about 40 grand in total, which was just, it was nothing really. Wasn't enough to pay anyone's wages, but at the same time, I think the only reason we both survived that point was a mentor of mine was talking about this before to me. And I agree with him, but his words were, there's a curious mix when you start a business. In startup stage, there's this curious mix of naivete and passion and fear, like this blood-curdling fear every morning. And it's this curious mix that kind of drives you forward. And for the first kind of like 8 months, it just, we powered along. We didn't make much money at all. But I think the most valuable thing we did was we recognized one of the first things we needed to do to grow our video agency is we needed to build a portfolio of good work. Yeah. And because we didn't have a track record, one of the things we did was we actually offered our services for free. Okay. And that's how we first built our portfolio of work. Now, there are pros and cons to that process. But the result of doing that, either free or discounted, was that process landed 2 of our largest clients 10 months later, which resulted in over $100,000 worth of revenue. Yeah.
So look, doing something for free, and I'm an advocate of that too, and I've done similar things in the past. At one point, I wanted to be part of more property developments, and I went and I was running a business. And on the side, I went and started to work. There was a role for an admin assistant for this property development group that wanted to, they wanted someone part time. And I said, hey, I'm overqualified, but I have a business. I had 2 at the time. Yeah. One's being sold, the other one's still there. I can do this too. I can do way more than that, but I just needed an in. Yeah. And sometimes you need that in. But it has to be strategic, right? You can't just run around doing things for free. You have to go, look, this is not a sure bet, but you're confident that if you get out there, you create this video and you do some great work, that it'll lead to more. And I think it's very powerful in sort of giving first, right? Yeah.
And I think really one of the biggest lessons I learned, absolutely you're right about being strategic, is to be honest, you should be honest up front. Yeah. And you should lay the cards on the table of, look, I'm willing to do this because of basically let them know what's in it for you. Yeah. And be totally open to say what's in it for you. Yeah. And if they're not prepared to give it, for example, what's in it for you might be an introduction or might be an opportunity to tender for the next project or whatever it is. Yeah. That's the strategic element. If you just go, hey, here's my stuff, it's free, there are a lot of people who will take advantage of you.
And then not obviously play, sort of beyond that accepting of that free gift or however they frame it, and they move on, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, yeah, I guess that leads into, part of your challenge, and one of your early challenges was to create revenue, like we all do. I mean, the first piece of revenue, you're in no man's land, right? Yeah. I mean, you've sort of started a business, but you haven't really started a business until you've actually collected some dollars.
That's
so, we've spent money, we've invested something, but we've got started. But after you've got rolling a little bit, I mean, what's a major challenge or a couple of major challenges you've faced, as you're trying to grow and scale a business?
The biggest challenge was really when we started making revenue. I still remember that first big sale, like relatively big sale on our end. I was just dumbstruck. I was like, really? sweet, like that, that feeling, that's kind of disbelief that you actually made the sale.
Mindset wasn't ready for it.
Yeah,
Is that sort of where you're going? Yeah.
But then I got excited.
Yeah.
But after that, momentum actually started building.
Okay.
And we started getting more sales and more sales. And the thing was, we weren't fully ready for it because we didn't have the systems in place to fulfill the sales that we were making. So what ended up happening was, okay, we have all these sales, and we were so eager to please our clients that we set certain deadlines that practically, basically just ran us to the ground because we needed to fulfill all these orders. And look, we did a good job for every single client. Like, we made the strategic decision of going, look, our brand is our most important asset, and one of the best ways to destroy your brand is to do bad work, because reputation is so important in business, and word travels fast. So what was important for us was basically to go, hey, we have to do all of these jobs as well as possible, and that's what we did. But the problem with that was no one was handling sales anymore, because I jumped back into the ship, and then once we actually fulfilled all the projects, we were like, great. Uh-oh. We don't have any work.
Projects.
So then that caused a lot of dramas, but really what it also taught us was the value of systemizing your business.
Yeah, and a lesson in focus too, and that extreme focus can be amazing, right? But you can't neglect large pieces of a business, and so many people, well, not so many people, everybody that launches into a new business, unless they've had 10 before it, they have blind spots.
Yeah.
They have skill sets they need to learn and pick up. We all do. It's just, how would you have known all the 360 degrees of everything you have to know and understand and control and drive as a business owner?
That's right. And to be honest, when you mentioned just on the topic of blind spots, one of my mentors taught me everyone in business has blind spots, regardless of how experienced you are.
Yeah.
And if someone tells you otherwise, it's probably BS. And to be honest, I believe that. And this mentor came from a very successful background of businesses, 10 years in business, and one blind spot was enough to basically make them close their doors.
It's actually, really powerful words and a humble approach, which is incredible, because it is easy, and you do see people get a few wins on the board and start to get a bit blasé and a bit excited about the success, and some may be generated by a bit of luck as well, luck derived from hard work, but things change.
Yes.
And everyone has blind spots, and if they don't, or if they think they don't, then they're probably just not even watching and keeping an eye on innovation and where technology is changing, because everyone's being disrupted in some way, shape or form.
That's right.
Which is pretty crazy. So a couple of quick questions in sort of that related. Do you have sort of morning routine or any rituals, and how do you sort of structure your week to get the most out of your week, particularly with obviously a young son around now as well?
Well, definitely having a son now does add some challenges, but at the same time, I get a lot of strength and inspiration from him and my family. So it's a give and take. But really, how I structure my week, what I found, and I think there are many, there's no two people who do the same thing.
Yeah.
Even with morning rituals, there are different things that work. But what I did find was I found giving yourself enough sleep is important. That's one. Some people just think, okay, let's just hustle and hustle and hustle. The reality is, if you're sleep deprived, you can't really function. So that's one thing. I found that waking up early worked for me because I'm more of a morning person. And generally in the mornings, I give myself maybe about I try at least around 10 minutes of meditation. Okay. And that's really just this thinking time for me. Yeah. Whether it's just sitting, it's basically sitting by myself, just breathing. It could be a bit of self-affirmation as well. I like, or listening to inspiring quots. One of my favorite quotes actually comes from Charlie Munger. Do you know who Charlie Munger is?
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. For our audience who doesn't know who Charlie Munger is, probably one of the highest IQ people in the world currently living. He's a business partner of Warren Buffett, And what Charlie Munger says is, and I quote, "Spend each day trying to be a little wiser than you were when you woke up. Discharge your duties faithfully and well. Step by step, you get ahead, not necessarily in fast spurts, but you build discipline by preparing for fast spurts." I love this next part. "Slug it out inch by inch, day by day. In the end of the day," he adds, "if you live long enough, most people get what they deserve." And I live by that mantra. I almost say it practically every day. That's sometimes part of my meditation.
Yeah.
And so that's generally how I start my mornings early, bit of thinking time for myself, and then have breakfast. I leave for the office early. And I think it's very important that people know themselves.
Yeah.
And what I found for myself is I'm a morning person, and I function best within the first 4 hours of my day.
Okay.
So that is critical time for me. Now that I understand that I function best with the first 4 hours of my day, what I do is I actually put the most important activity in the first 4 hours of my day, which really in business is revenue generating activities,
Yes.
i.e. sales and marketing. So that's when I do my sales calls, when I create proposals, when I execute in marketing or think about marketing strategy. I do it in the first 4 hours of my day.
Okay.
And then everything else falls in the cracks.
So how do you hold that discipline?
It's just calendars, really.
Yeah.
It's just, so my life is now driven by my calendar.
Okay.
I love Google Calendar. I love Google Suite. Like, it just, Google basically organizes my entire life at the moment.
Mine too.
Yep, it's great. I love it. Like, when I discovered it, I was like, man, software should be this easy.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that I said. But that's a plug for Google. I'm not making money from Google. I promise.
We certainly aren't making any money from Google. If anything, we spend money with Google.
That's
and plenty of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But really, in terms of structuring, it's just discipline. So, for example, when I schedule my sales calls or when I do discovery calls, which is generally one of the first touch points over the phone with a prospect, I use a software called Calendly, which basically allows people to book time for sales calls. And that is, I structured it so that it happens in the mornings.
Okay.
I find it's generally I do sales calls as well in the afternoon if I have to, but mornings are the best. So essentially, it's just keeping that time sacred.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
Everyone else in my team knows this is sacred time for me. Let me do what I have to do.
Yeah.
And I just put that in my calendar.
Yeah, I love it. No, it's really good. I mean, the one thing I struggle with at times is I have the same sort of process, and I really like to get those key things in the morning, because I found there's that window when you can really get, something not just 10% done, but really 70 or 80 if you can lock in some quality focus. And there's always a lot of distractions. So I'm just continually working on trying to get that discipline right and not have team members knocking on the door and sort of getting caught up doing something else and fixing something else, and then coming back going, oh, I didn't get that one, even just that one thing I was trying to do. Yeah. I didn't get that done today. So
and look, I think the reality is, life happens, like business happens, and you have to be flexible enough. Like, if I can't do my sales calls, then look, that's that. I have to do other things. But then if you fall off the horse, just try to get back on the horse again. Yeah,
no, that's also really wise advice. So, just a couple of quick questions to wrap it up a bit, Dennis. And
sure.
So, if people are looking to amplify their business, I mean, what do you think what's your number one tip for them to sort of, think small to medium business? I mean, what's your big tip for them to really lock in, put as their one thing they want to do tomorrow, and or create or start to create tomorrow to really grow and amplify their business?
That's a great question. Let me just think about it quickly. What's the one thing they can do? Look, I don't know if I can really distill it. I don't. Excuse me. I don't think I can really distill it. My best approach. Here's my best attempt at this. It's actually something we learned here in Lombok, and something I truly agree on, and I think I didn't value as much when I started.
Okay.
and could have probably helped speed up the growth of my business.
Right.
Is this understanding that, as a business, 80% of your time should be focused on sales and marketing.
Okay.
As a business owner, as the founder of a business, it should be sales and marketing first. Like most founders, at least I would say most founders that I know, when they start their business, they're probably technicians. They know the technical work to get the business running.
Yeah.
But without the sales and the marketing, you don't have customers. Without
There's no
customers,
business, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's developing this mentality that it should be 80% of your time should be on sales and marketing, whatever that means for you. I'd say that's it.
That's great, and obviously very humble in not mentioning what you do for a living as well. But I would also add to the back of that, obviously what you're doing with incredible video production is a really key part of growth and part of marketing. I think over the next at least decade, I would assume the way we need to approach adding more and more video and storytelling to our marketing system for businesses of all size is really critical, and obviously found yourself in a great place, I think, with some amazing skills, because I'll say it again, some of the most amazing sort of corporate footage in particular, because I haven't really seen other types of footage that you've done, but some amazing corporate footage and something that's really a great offering for a lot of brands, and what I've seen is I'm really impressed with, so that's fantastic. But so I'll just finish it up on, do you have any books or podcasts or piece of content that you think would be something really cool for the listeners?
Sure. My favorite book is actually a biography.
Okay.
And I think it's a biography that I've only seen a few. I've met a few entrepreneurs who actually have read it, which I find really surprising. My favorite book is a book called Made in America. I think the title is unfortunate because it probably ostracizes a huge demographic, but Made in America is a biography by a guy named Sam Walton.
Yes, of course.
There you go. Really, Sam Walton, for our audience who doesn't know, he's the founder of
Walmart.
Exactly.
So I was going to say, that title rings a bell, but I just couldn't think of whose it was. So okay, Sam Walton, founder of Walmart. So obviously, huge story, huge brand, huge business that was built. What is it that really gets you about that story? Well,
first off, is if you consider, name some amazing, iconic entrepreneurs that you know. Say Steve Jobs. Who else?
Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Richard Branson.
Okay, those are quite very, very iconic. But let's say even for example with Steve Jobs and with Elon Musk, I'm not sure what Elon Musk's net worth is now. Actually, it might be sizable amount. Well, definitely sizable amount. But even if you put some iconic entrepreneurs together, their net worth is still below Sam Walton's net worth when he died. Yeah. But I think beyond that, though, what I really respect about Sam Walton is, I would put him in the same level of entrepreneurship as say Henry Ford, pure love for entrepreneurship.
And a Charlie Munger style approach, I would almost say. In the careful accumulation and growth. I mean, careful in one way, incredibly fast in another.
That's right.
But the same sort of methodology, in building up his company and building his wealth.
That's right. And look, regardless of really, I guess, people have different opinions about what Walmart stands for now. But during his time, Walmart was really a business that was a win for everyone. There was a time when Americans were begging for Walmart to open in their place because, Walmart provided an amazing service, amazing, cheap products, basically. Good quality, cheap products. His slogan was satisfaction guaranteed. But I think beyond that was the humility. Sam Walton has Warren Buffett level humility. Yeah. In terms of, he flew economy. This was a guy that was worth hundreds of billions of dollars net worth, and he flew economy. When he was hunting, he drove this old pickup truck. His house was the family home that they lived in. Really, if you met him, I wish I could have met him, because if I met him, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have thought he was a billionaire.
Yeah.
just that level of humility is I think something incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, that's amazing. Definitely, I'll get into that book too. It's probably on a list somewhere. I have a long list of my books. Every time someone tells me one, I sort of like jump down, write it in the list, and start to buy bunches of them and bunches of sort of Amazon or wherever they are. But I'll definitely jump into that. So Dennis, where can we find a bit more about you and Storydriven, and
Sure.
What's a good place to look?
No worries. Well, really, I think that the best place to look is just find us on our website. So it's www.storydriven, as in drive, so storydriven.agency.
.agency.
That's it. Nice and easy.
Bingo. Well, listen, thanks very much for jumping on the podcast. It's been really great deal of fun talking to you, and
Sounds good.
it's
Thanks
amazing.
for having me, Matt.
Hope you're enjoying Lombok.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, cheers. Hey guys, Matt Hanham here, and I really hope you enjoyed that episode of the Amplify Your Business podcast. I hope you got some awesome value out of the experience, and I'd love to hear your comments below, or if you want to share it with your friends, that'd be great too.